morning, good day, and good night to you all. Welcome back to the Snark side.
We are so happy to be back in the mess with you guys.
Literally so happy. And babes, we are wishing all of you the most amazing weekend because, honestly, by the time most of you hear this chat, it is basically Friday.
Right, the week is basically over. Time to clock out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So grab your drinks, settle in, and real quick, if you are a returning Snarker, please make sure you subscribe and rate the podcast.
Yes, please do.
Because, babes, it honestly helps other people find the mess, and we need to grow the squad.
We need more people in this chaotic little support group we've built.
We really do. Okay, so let's just set the scene for a second. It is Thursday evening right now, and, babes, we have been sitting here watching an actual, literal semi-royal on screen, and I am having massive FOMO.
Oh, the FOMO is physically painful at this point.
I am fully spiraling. Like, we are watching Lady Emma Thin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at her life and looking at my life and thinking, how did Emma go from being, like, a normal person to a damn duchess with a historic estate?
Well, technically a Marchioness, but yes, the point stands.
Marchioness, duchess, whatever. She has a palace. She has giraffes in her backyard. What are we doing wrong?
Analytically speaking, probably a lot. I mean, are we lacking in our networking skills?
We must be.
Did we choose the wrong country to live in? Probably.
Oh.
I mean, we definitely missed some crucial opportunities to just casually marry into a title.
I mean, no one even told me that was a career option when I was in high school. I feel so betrayed. We should be wearing tiaras to breakfast.
Instead, we are sitting here in sweatpants. It is tragic, honestly.
It is a tragedy. But before we get too deep into our own lack of grand estates, babes, we need to take a moment.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Okay.
We are bringing back our weekend horoscope segment.
It's time. The squad needs guidance, or at least a warning.
Mostly a warning. Okay, so here are my predictions for the Snark squad this weekend. I am seeing, like, terrible, unhinged late-night texts to people you should absolutely not be texting.
Put the phone down, babes. Nothing good happens after midnight.
Exactly. I'm also predicting that you're going to completely ignore all of your adult responsibilities on Sunday in favor of bottomless brunch.
Which is just a fast track to the Sunday scaries. But you know what? I support the delusion.
And finally, I foresee you embracing massive, entirely unearned main character energy all weekend long.
Honestly, I have to roast all of you in advance for the inevitable bad decisions you're about to make. Like, you know you shouldn't send the text, but you're going to do it anyway, aren't you?
They are. We all are. It's fine. It's a lifestyle.
Speaking of bad decisions, we need to address the beverage situation currently happening in this room.
Oh my God, right. So, babes, the mango margaritas are still on deck?
They are on deck, but they have been sitting here for a minute.
They are completely melted. Like, there is no ice structure left. It's just liquid.
So, honestly, my question is, do these technically qualify as mango mimosas now?
Wait, I love that. Yes, they are mango mimosas. It's chic.
It is not chic. It is just a warm tequila puddle. The delusion is so real right now.
Whatever, I'm taking a sip anyway.
Cheers to the warm puddle.
Okay. Moving on to our other terrible life choices today. Snark Squad, you know we have our bachata dance class later tonight.
Which we are wildly unprepared for.
Wildly. So naturally we thought, we should probably stretch our muscles before we go.
A logical thought, in theory.
In theory. Which led to us making the absolute unhinged decision to go to hot yoga this afternoon.
Oh, the trauma.
Babes, I cannot stress this enough. We are not workout people.
No. We are lounging people. We are podcasting people.
I genuinely thought I was going to pass out. The heat in that room, it was like standing on the surface of the sun.
It was aggressive. And the sheer volume of sweat, I don't even want to talk about it.
I was slipping on my own mat. I was literally sliding down and into downward dog and questioning every single life choice that led me to that moment.
I looked over at one point, and you just looked like a sad melting seal trying to do a plank. It was ridiculous. We looked so stupid trying to be athletic.
I was fighting for my life, just trying to survive the hour without requiring medical attention.
Well, we survived. Barely.
Barely. But hey, we are slightly sore, slightly tipsy from these melted margaritas, and we are absolutely ready for the chaos today.
Oh, the chaos is top tier today.
Babes, our mission today is to unpack every single messy, aristocratic, unhinged moment from Ladies of London, The New Reign.
Specifically, Season 4, Episode 9.
Yes, the iconic episode titled Way Out of Line.
Such a good title.
So good. So let's just dive right into the mess. We have to start with the garden standoff.
The defining moment of the trip, honestly.
Okay, so we are at Longleat, right? This majestic, incredible estate. And Margo Stilley, who is she's going through it, she decides that the best course of action is to literally shout across a Marcus's manicured garden at Mark Francis.
I mean, analytically speaking, screaming at an afternoon tea is peak reality TV faux pas.
It is so jarring. You're looking at this gorgeous scenery, and suddenly there's just this American actress hollering over the teacups, the sheer audacity.
Because it violates every single unwritten rule of the British elite. Volume is considered so incredibly gauche. If you yell, you lose.
Exactly. And Mark Francis, who is like the king of high society, he just wants out. He is trying to make this swift, incredibly dramatic exit across the lawn.
The irony of his exit is my favorite part of the entire season.
Oh my God, the maze.
He tries to storm off, right, to maintain his dignity, and he marches straight into the Longleat love maze, and he literally gets trapped.
Trapped. For 15 minutes.
He cannot find his way out. It is physical comedy gold.
The quote he gave from inside the maze, wait, I wrote it down. He said, "I have spent 15 years going around this bloody maze, and the one time I need to make a swift exit, it actually works."
It's so poetic. He wants to escape the reality TV drama, and he just gets stuck in a literal hedge puddle designed for royals to flirt in.
I was dying. But meanwhile, back at the tea table, the ripple effects are happening. Kimi Murdoch is over it. She storms off, and she is so mad about Margo yelling.
Right. She calls Margo a, quote, effing crybaby bitch.
Yes. And Kimi drops the shade of the century. She says, "You can take a girl out of Florida, but you can't take a girl from Florida to Longleat."
Which is a devastating read. But we have to point out the blatant hypocrisy here.
Oh, totally.
Kimi is furious about Margo's volume, but Kimi is literally stomping across the grass, dropping expletives, and yelling about the yelling.
She is just as loud.
Exactly. But because Kimi aligns with Emma and the cool kids of the house, she feels completely justified in breaking the etiquette rules to enforce them. It's very rules for thee, but not for me.
It really is. Okay, so Margo eventually tracks Mark down. And we get the actual confrontation. And, babes, the secondhand embarrassment I felt watching this.
It was rough. Margo demands a conversation. She wants to clear the air.
And Mark just flat out refuses. He says he has absolutely nothing to say to her.
Which is a valid boundary, setting a rule that he won't fight in his best friend's house.
Right, but Margo pushes and she calls him obsessed. She says, "You are obsessed with me."
Oh, the delusion.
The absolute delusion. And Mark delivers this lethal, ice-cold retort. He looks at her and says, "Darling, who wouldn't be obsessed with you? Have you seen yourself?"
The delivery was glacial. Absolute zero.
I gasped. But here's my question for you, because Emma and Lottie later try to claim that this was just dry British humor, like, oh, Margo just doesn't understand the banter. Do you buy that?
Not for a second. Let's analyze that. A joke is supposed to release tension. Mark's comment was explicitly designed to demean her. It wasn't humor, it was a weapon. He was calling her tragic right to her face.
Yeah, he was totally tearing her down. And then the physical boundary gets crossed. During this intense back and forth, Mark actually reaches out and gently touches Margo's elbows.
Which is a massive, massive boundary violation.
Massive. Margo literally recoils and says, "Don't touch me."
Touching someone during a heated argument is purely an assertion of dominance. It's patronizing. It says, I control this space, and your reaction doesn't matter. Her recoiling was a completely natural response to that.
And that's when she just loses it. She fires back and calls him a weird, nasty clown. She calls him creepy, and she tells him to prance away.
And there it is, the dog whistle.
The word prance, it changes everything. But real quick, we have to mention Martha in all of this. Martha is supposed to be Margo's friend, right?
Right, in theory.
And Martha is standing right there during this fight. And the stress is so immense, she literally lights a cigarette on camera.
She is the middleman caught in the crossfire, and she is panicking. She even goes over to Mark and apologizes, saying she handled things badly.
She throws Margo under the bus so fast.
Survival of the fittest.
Okay, so they all go to sleep angry. The next morning, Emma decides to split the group up for, like, mandatory fun activities. We have the Cheddar Gorge cheese van and the cave exploring van.
Let's talk about the cheese van first, because this is where the entire context of Mark shifts.
It really does. So Kimi suggests they start the morning with Patron or Miraval wine just to be healthy, which, honestly, I fully support.
Tequila breakfast is a choice, but I respect it.
But in the van, Mark gets surprisingly vulnerable. He is deeply, deeply triggered by Margo calling him a freak or creepy.
It was an incredible on-camera emotional reveal. He talks about spending 20 years of his life feeling like a freak. He reveals he can't even introduce his partner the man he wants to marry, to his own parents because they won't accept him.
My heart actually broke for him. You realize he has all this trauma from being bullied and rejected for being gay. It's so sad.
It is devastating. But analytically, we have to ask, does that past trauma justify his casual cruelty towards Margo?
Right. Like, does it give him a pass to mock her crushed velvet or her transparent Alea dress?
I don't think it does. It explains his defensive walls, but it doesn't excuse him using his elite status to make her feel small. He felt powerless in his past, so he asserts dominance now.
That makes a lot of sense. But meanwhile, in the other van, the cave crew van, Lottie and Miss Say are basically launching a coordinated ambush on Margo.
It was tactical. Lottie steps in as the etiquette police, telling Margo you can't fight nastiness with nastiness.
But Lottie actually does something I thought was pretty sharp. She completely clocks Margo's coded language.
Yes, Lottie deserves credit here. She correctly identifies prance and freak as homophobic dog whistles. Margo thought she had plausible deniability, but Lottie shut it down.
Margo tries to play dumb, like, oh, I just meant he's weird, but Lottie is not having it. But then, babes, Lottie and Miss Say drop the ultimate bomb.
The betrayal.
They tell Margo that the insults about her aren't just coming from Mark. They tell her that her actual friends, specifically Martha, are talking behind her back to the whole group.
They completely dismantled her reality.
I was spiraling just watching it, realizing that everyone in the house is secretly plotting against you, that your supposed best friend is selling you out. That is pure nightmare fuel.
Margo thought she was fighting a one-front war against Mark. Suddenly, she realizes she is completely isolated. The entire social ecosystem is hostile.
And the physical reaction is immediate. The vans pull up to Cheddar Gorge. And real quick, the visual of Kimi and Mika in the cheese facility is so funny.
Oh, as a dedicated cheese hater, I have to roast this. They are in these drab, awful white protective gear suits and hairnets.
They look like they work in a lab.
And they are shoveling what Kimi calls the graveyards of whey into giant plastic bins. It is so unglamorous.
It's the opposite of luxury. And then the cave van arrives in the car park. Misseri realizes she has to pee so badly that she literally bolts out of the car.
Like Lara Croft looking for a cursed relic. She just sprints across the tarmac.
I was laughing so hard at that, but then the mood just plummets because Margo stays behind and she starts sobbing, like full-blown hyperventilating in the back of the van.
Her nervous system just overloaded. The isolation triggered a massive fight-or-flight response.
The producers literally have to step in. They try to get her out of the car to get some air, and she stumbles over to this bench. And babes, the cinematic picture of this is wild. She is having a 3-day panic attack, sobbing her eyes out, sitting right next to a giant plastic statue of Wallace and Gromit.
It is the most absurd juxtaposition. This glamorous, devastated woman wailing next to a grinning claymation inventor and his dog.
And there are passing local children just staring at her. Fans online were instantly comparing this to the Real Housewives of New York's Scary Island episode.
The comparison is spot on. It's the exact moment where the artificial pressure of reality TV breaks a person's connection to reality. It was a severe physiological breakdown.
The producers eventually realize it's a medical issue, so they send Margo back to Longleat, which leads us to the most epic Irish exit of all time.
A truly catastrophic failure of etiquette.
So Margo gets back to the estate, packs all her bags, and just leaves. She evaporates. She doesn't tell Emma, the host. She doesn't tell Martha. She just flees.
Which is the ultimate insult to a host. You do not just ghost a historic estate without a word. I have to roast her for that. It is terribly rude.
But Emma handles it so gracefully. She says on camera, if they're not happy, then I feel like I failed. She takes the blame.
That is the pinnacle of aristocratic training. Deflect the guest's rudeness by apologizing yourself. It makes the guest look even worse.
Right. But Miss Say doesn't hold back. She just flat out calls Margo's exit a relief.
And Mark's reaction was the funniest part. They call him to say Margo wasn't well and had to leave the gorge, and Mark just casually asks, did she trip?
He literally imagined her tumbling into a dark cave. He didn't even consider it was an emotional breakdown.
He was completely disconnected from her humanity at that point.
But honestly, with the irritant gone, sorry to Margo, the vibes of the trip instantly repair themselves. It was like magic.
But social organism amputated the diseased limb and immediately started thriving.
They really did. They go feed the world's richest Rothschild giraffes at sunset. It's gorgeous. Mark is in such a good mood, he goes to the Bath Arms pub and orders pigeon.
Of course he ordered pigeon. It's the most Mark Francis thing to do.
And then Kimi, who is fully drunk at this point, whips up this flawless late-night omelet back at the cottage.
Which Mark describes as unctuous, and bavos.
Bavos. What does that even mean?
It's a pretentious French culinary term for slightly runny in the center. Only this group could turn a drunk midnight snack into a Michelin star vocabulary lesson.
I mean, I marvel at their ability to just move on and thrive. But obviously the fallout followed them back to London.
It always does. The ghosting wasn't just physical, it was digital.
Martha realizes that Margo has blocked her on absolutely everything. Phone, text, social media, blanked.
Which, I have to say, is an absolute overreaction. Blocking someone you were just on a trip with is so middle school.
But is it? If she really thought Martha betrayed her, I don't know. Anyway, back in London, Micah goes to visit Margo, and Margo reveals the panic attack literally lasted for 3 days.
The cortisol spike was that severe.
But here's the context that got me really emotional. Margo blames a lot of this on her postpartum struggles. She had recently had a baby, and she was really going through it physically and mentally.
Which adds a layer of genuine tragedy to the situation.
It really does. Like having empathy for a new mother whose hormones are all over the place, being thrown into the Shark Tank of a reality show, it's so intense.
It demands empathy, absolutely. But objectively, I remain a little skeptical. Postpartum struggles are incredibly real and difficult, but does it completely excuse using homophobic dog whistles or screaming across a garden?
I mean, no, it doesn't excuse the bad behavior, but it explains the total lack of emotional regulation.
True. And in that sit-down, Margo admits her real beef isn't even Mark anymore. It is Martha.
Yes, because Martha defends Margo to the group, but then is hypercritical when they are one-on-one. Martha was playing both sides.
Exactly. But Martha convinces Margo to try and clear the air with Mark. Just text him and apologize for the freak comment.
And Margo agrees, so she types out this text, and babes, where she starts the apology text with the word look.
I have to roast this. Starting any text message with look is a declaration of war.
It is the most combative word in the English language.
It really is. It immediately sets an aggressive tone.
Yeah.
Look implies, listen to me, you idiot.
Yeah.
It strips away any genuine feeling of an apology.
And Mark reacts exactly how you'd expect. He reads the text, scoffs, calls her a lunatic, and just completely shuts it down. The block button is mutual now.
And that is the chaotic end of the Longleat saga.
Wow. Okay, babes, we need to transition into our segment breakdowns because there is so much psychology to unpack here. Let's start with segment 1, royal or regular?
Yes. Let's evaluate who is actually giving elite, unbothered, aristocratic energy and who is painfully pretending.
For me, it's pretty clear-cut. Emma is giving true royal grace. Like, she handled a screaming match in her backyard and a guest ghosting her estate with a polite smile.
She is the gold standard.
And Kimi, I love Kimi, but Kimi is giving regular. Bringing Florida yelling and swearing to Longleat is just, it's not regal.
No, it's authentic, but it's not elite. But let's analyze Margo's performance. Margo desperately wants to project high society. She brags about her vintage Alaya dress, she name drops, she wants the aesthetic.
But she has zero emotional regulation.
Exactly. She completely lacks the restraint required of the British elite. Now, Mark, on the other hand, is giving elite. But specifically, the villainous, untouchable elite who weaponizes manners to destroy people.
But wait, I have to push back on that. Is Mark really elite? Isn't his complete inability to just have a direct, mature conversation with Margo a sign of regular, messy behavior? Like, running into a hedge maze to hide from a conflict is kind of pathetic.
It's avoidant, yes, but the way he does it is elite. The freeze out is a classic aristocratic power move. He is essentially saying, you are so far beneath me that I will not even validate you with a response. It's toxic, but it's high-status toxic.
High-status toxic, that is so dark.
Which leads us to segment 2, status versus substance.
Is the influence we see on this show based on real friendships or just aesthetics and social climbing?
I really wanted to defend Martha here. I felt like Martha had actual substance. She was stuck in the middle, trying to be a genuine friend to Margo while keeping the peace with Emma. She looked so stressed. I have to call out the status dynamic here. Martha doesn't have substance. She has survival instincts. Mark is heavily shielded from any consequences, strictly because of his status. He's Emma's best friend of 15 years. He's the godfather to her son.
He holds all the power.
He holds the keys to the castle. Notice how the group doesn't tell Mark to apologize for insulting Margo's clothes. They tell Margo to lay down and accept Mark's insults. Because Mark has the real power.
That makes me so mad, but you're right.
And Martha knows this. She might be playing both sides, but ultimately she will sacrifice Margo to maintain her own survival in the social hierarchy.
Wow. Okay, I admit it. Martha is definitely playing the status game. Which brings us to my favorite segment, segment 3. If we married into this life.
Inserting ourselves into the aristocracy.
Yes. Babes, what kind of Longleat royals would we be? Honestly, I like to think I would be incredibly graceful. Let me dream. I would try to be graceful, but realistically, I would inevitably end up being so messy. I would probably throw a melted margarita at someone in the love maze and end up sobbing over a ruined designer dress. I would crack under the pressure.
Oh, absolutely. The American instinct would jump out instantly.
What about you?
I would be entirely scandalous, but in a very quiet way. I would refuse to ever go to a damp cheese cave. You'd never catch me in a hairnet. I would just live full-time in the Bath Arms pub, drinking gin, and silently judging all the wifelets.
You would be the shady mastermind in the corner. We should just buy an estate and turn it into a Bravo-themed retreat.
I would fully support that business venture.
Right. Okay, moving on to segment 4. Snark Squad Society Gossip. It is time for our bold, slightly unhinged theories about the episode. Give me what you've got.
Okay, I have a theory about the relationships and power dynamics here, specifically regarding the cave van ambush.
Oh, I'm nervous. What is it?
I theorize that Martha and Lottie actively wanted Margo to have a complete meltdown.
Wait, what? On purpose?
Yes. Think about the timing. They had all weekend to tell Margo that everyone was talking behind her back. But they waited until Margo was physically trapped in a moving car heading to an isolated cave. They orchestrated her exit. They applied maximum pressure so she would break and leave, securing a peaceful, high-status dinner with Emma for themselves.
No, I vehemently disagree with that. That is so dark. I am getting emotional just thinking about that level of manipulation.
It is strategy.
No, Martha was genuinely terrified when she was making those phone calls from the patio. She literally said, "I don't know this version of Margo." She looked so confused and scared for her friend.
Let me clap back at that. Did you look at what Martha was wearing to go to a muddy, damp gorge?
The yellow dress.
A perfect, pristine, vibrant yellow dress. That is not the outfit of someone exploring a cave. That is the outfit of a woman who knows she is about to be on camera, playing the role of the concerned, grieving best friend. The yellow dress was giving absolute mastermind.
Oh my God. You think she dressed for the camera knowing the breakdown was coming? I hate that I can kind of see your point. That is evil.
It's high society, babes. It's a blood sport.
I am unwell, which means it is probably time to wrap this up before I spiral completely.
Let's leave listeners with one final provocative thought to mull over.
Do it.
If Margo's entire breakdown was truly triggered by the realization that her supportive friends were the ones actually selling her out, is Mark actually the villain of this trip? Or is he just the convenient, flamboyant scapegoat for a group of mean girls who used him to do their dirty work?
Wait, really? Mark is the scapegoat. My brain is literally exploding. Snark Squad, you have to let us know what you think about that theory in the reviews, because I'm going to be thinking about that all weekend.
It changes the entire perspective of the episode.
It really does. Wow. Well, babes, thank you so much for hanging out in the mess with us today.
We always love our time with the squad.
Please, if you love this chat, share the podcast with your messiest friend. And don't forget to rate and review. It means the world to us.
And it helps fund our delusion of eventually buying a castle.
Exactly. And honestly, today has been so humbling. Like, babes, we started this chat wanting to be British royalty, and we ended up sweating to death in hot yoga and drinking lukewarm melted margaritas.
Back to reality.
Back to our tragic reality. But we love you all. Stay regal.
Stay ridiculous.
And we will see you on the Snark side.